All right. So, yeah, everyone, Happy New Year once again, and welcome to the NGO Masterclass. Today, we will looking at strategic fundraising for NGOs. So, I felt that it's important to start the year and start the masterclass looking for looking at this very important topic, which is something that people seem to be agitated about, and also because what's really an NGO without funding? So whatever mission you have, whatever work you're doing, if you don't have the resources to do it, then it becomes a problem for you. And unfortunately, there seems to be a lack of this skill within the NGO sector. So fundraising is a very important skill. It's a highly sought after skill, and it's something that you can delve into even without being a technical expert in it, because all it just requires is is for you to have all it just requires is for you to have transferable skills, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen, and then I might have to turn off my video. And so, but for ground rules, just ensure that your microphone is kept on mute. And when it's time for us to ask questions and we want to unmute, we'll be given that opportunity as well. But in the meantime, you could always use the chat if you want to share any feedback, or if you've got any question that you want to ask, you can always use the chat in the meantime. Thank you. I believe that you all can see my screen. So if you do, you can just affirm by just typing it. Can you see my screen? Can everybody now see my screen? Can we all see my screen? Yeah, great. Thank you so much, James, for that confirmation. All right. So let me just turn off this video. Great. So at the end of this session today, we will be able to reintroduce ourselves properly, and we'll have a few minutes to network with one another and learn what each other is doing and see what opportunities there might be, because you never know who is in this room. You never know who is also attending the webinar today. So you'll be given an opportunity to pitch, an opportunity to introduce yourself, your organization, the work you're doing, or whatever stage you are in your career and what you're hoping to, hoping will happen to you next. Okay. So that's what we're going to be doing afterwards. So we talked about strategic fundraising for NGOs. And for those of you who are just joining the masterclass for the very first time, my name is Vincent Egoro, and I started this platform in 2022. So where we are using the platform to provide capacity building, to provide tools, resources, training to strengthen the capacities of NGO professionals in Africa. And the masterclass is entirely free. We don't charge for it. And we would, in the course of the training, bring other experts to also come and share their wealth of experience and knowledge with us as well. So today, this session is going to be covering these three areas. So we will not be able to exhaust all about fundraising in one masterclass. So we're going to be doing a series. We've started a series today, and maybe we might be ending it in 3 weeks. Also, we're going to be using, perhaps might be using 3 weeks to cover these sessions. But this is something that we have started today. And today we're going to be looking at the philosophy of fundraising, how you can create a culture of fundraising in your organization, as well as how you can create a case for support. So I'm going to talk, throw more light about what the case for support is as we go along. So we want to look at the philosophy of fundraising. And I've said that fundraising for most people is like a demon, okay? Most people consider fundraising as something that is very difficult to do. So what then is fundraising? And as you can see on the screen, we say that fundraising is about asking people for money. That's basically what fundraising is about. It's about you asking people for money. And because you're asking for money, many people find it very, very difficult to do. Many people are unable to ask for money. And so there's a lot of emotions that are associated with fundraising. Many of us, or some of us, have very painful relationships with money, especially if you're in Africa. The sort of money, we all have money issues on the continent. We don't talk about money so much in our homes, and so we don't have good relationships with money. So the idea of talking about money with someone you hardly know can feel intimidating. So I see people who, in their own personal lives, they've got difficulties, but they're unable to ask for help because they'll tell you, I don't like asking people for help. I don't like asking people for money because I don't know how they may feel about it because everyone's got their own problems. Those are the kind of statements that people say. Or I don't want people to go discuss my issues with other people's outside. So I keep my problems to myself. And then we find out that because of that habit that is already ingrained within us, we sort of carry that beliefs, that practice into fundraising activities, even within our organizations. We don't want to confront people. We don't want to meet people. We don't want to write to people to talk about money. Okay, we are able to talk about everything, but not money. So that's the kind of relationships that so many of us, especially Africans, have with money. Now, fundraising is beyond asking for money. Fundraising goes beyond asking for money. Fundraising is a vehicle that you can use to cause personal transformation, social transformation, national transformation, or even global transformation. You hear our political leaders always saying that, look, we've got plans. Nigeria is a good place. We need investors. We need the world to come and invest. We need the world to write off our loans and so on. What all they are doing is fundraising. Fundraising is about energy, okay? It's about connecting with people. It's about creating emotions of joy because you are touching the desires, the dreams, and yearnings that are bigger than you, yearnings of other people, yearnings of the communities, yearning of a country, of a region, and so on. That's what fundraising is. It's about, it's beyond your own money. It's beyond how much you make or how much you get in the end. But at the end of the day, it's about how many lives are you able to touch as a result of the money that you've raised. So it's a very important aspect of our work that for your organization to exist, for your organization to have an assurance of tomorrow, then we need to be able to fundraise. Fundraising is very important, so we should not be scared of fundraising. Now, another thing I want you to understand is fundraising is emotional. Now, here is a question I want to ask you, and I need you to answer it. So you can just type your response in the chat box. The question is, why is it that getting people to give money can feel so difficult? Even when we have a watertight, logical case to make that demonstrates the importance of our work or our cause or our mission, the effectiveness of our program, and the value of our work. Why is it so difficult to get people to give us money? Even when you have a very wonderful program, you know that the challenges that you're trying to solve are real. They are affecting hundreds of lives, thousands of lives. They are affecting so many communities. But why can't you ask people to give money? Why is it so? Okay, thank you. Harrison is saying a lack of transparency and accountability. Okay, great. Any other response? Why is it that getting people to give money is difficult? You have a good program, you are a credible organization, yet you are unable to fundraise. Why is it so? Why
Sir,
can't... Please, just type it. Just type it. I'll give us opportunity to unmute, but if you can type, the better. But if you want to speak, you can just raise your hand so I recognize you.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, so we have harsh economy, we have poor communication. All right, Harrison, go ahead.
Like you said, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Now, we got a grant for mental health awareness.
Yeah.
And last year.
Yeah.
And after then, there were a lot of challenges that we had.
Okay.
And the major challenges that we had was related to integrity, transparency, stop now, and accountability.
Yeah.
And irrespective of that, we still have a bottleneck where when we were doing the financial management training, we heard that the NGOs were giving 50% of management cost.
Okay.
And they gave us only 7% of management cost.
Okay.
Which cannot pay your office rent and it cannot cover any bill of yours.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the funders here now.
Yeah.
With specific reference to European Union. You trained us. You are one of our facilitators, sir.
Okay, yeah, on the ACT program. Yeah.
That is a major challenge that we are facing when it comes to fundraising.
Okay.
I was in the EU midterm review for 2023 to 2027. They approved $508 million. And how can we access it? It's stringent. When we talk about transportation allowance, we could not access it. I collected 100,000 naira after 3 days, after 3 months for transport allowance.
Okay.
Are you with me, sir?
I am here, yeah, I'm here.
So these things, and I raised it. I met with the EU ambassador, Ismaila Isopi. We were in the Hilton when we were doing 16 days of activism.
Yeah.
And I told her, I saw the lead person, her name is Lola. I met Lola. I told Lola, if people were telling us that we should be transparent and accountable, we are talking about transport allowance for an event that we did in September, and they are paying you in January. So, but when they are working with the so-called NGOs, they don't operate with that same modus operandi. But when I raised the point, so a friend of mine told me that this money is a taxpayer money that they are paying from their pockets, and that we should now succumb to their terms of reference. But when they gave us grants, they were putting us under check every minute, M&E. So you need to, we need to also look at this back and forth into this.
Okay,
I spoke with the chairman of the civil society organization and donor agencies in the National Assembly, and I raised the point.
Okay, all right.
I'm driving to one particular point that civil society organizations must think how they can be self-reliant and create sustainability.
Thank you.
Because
that's a very
this donor funding thing, it's a mirage.
All right.
Because most times you find out that I can count over 100 organizations that after they get grants, they are redundant. So if we're talking about fundraising, we should also talk about sustainability. I know you did a webinar on sustainability, but it is something that we need to leverage on, and we need to give NGOs guidelines. And you know, in the registration, they have those that can set up social what they call them, social enterprises.
Yeah. So I think you've answered my question, but we'll need to move on, because if we continue.
Yes, sir. I'm just giving you a point of reference. Probably in our next sessions,
it's going to cover everything. That's why I said it's a series.
Yeah. Sir, you're doing very great. God will bless you.
Amen. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay, so thank you so much, Harrison, and for everyone who has contributed rightly. Now, one of the reasons, based on the question I was asking, which is, why is it that getting people to give money can feel so difficult to you? You have the right project, you have the people, the needs are real, your organization is credible, but you seem to have a problem. And the problem is, how do I get people to give me money? So the answer is this, that it is because people don't give for logical reasons. People don't give money simply because your needs are there, simply because your organization is credible, simply because you've done a logical framework, your objectives are correct. There is research that shows that people connect themselves to a cause overwhelmingly for emotional reasons rather than objective and logical ones. Especially when you begin to target foundations beyond the multilateral donors, because many of us on this call will not be able to access the multilateral donors without attaching ourselves with the NGOs or the bigger organizations. But there's funding available for you from the foundations, from corporate giving, from gifts, from services that you can render. But the problem now is, it doesn't matter how logical your campaign is, how logical the problem you're trying to solve is, or how realistic it is, people don't care. What they care about is, what emotions do what you're asking strike in them. If you watch about, if you've been following the news since when the Russia-Ukraine war started, and then the crisis going on in Gaza, you see that international organizations who are coming on TV or on social media to campaign for money are trying to evoke people's emotions. They'll bring images, videos of little children who perhaps have been shot, or whose perhaps their parents have died, and then they are abandoned, and they are using that to make a case. The money they are getting is not just going to that little child or that woman or that old woman that you see on TV that they are always emphasizing about. the money they are getting is going to go to other issues as well. But then understand that human beings have a sense of pity, a sense of sadness. There's a deep connection people have when they see that, look, you know, especially as parents, you now begin to see a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old child. You begin to think about yourself. And in that moment, you are able to connect and give. And you see them taking donations, you know, in millions. But there are other issues that they could have brought, but they understand this secret that, look, when you're trying to get money from people, you have to look at what are these people, what do they really care about? What are the things that can really provoke emotions that people can connect to? Maybe it can lead to anger, it can lead to sadness, it can lead to joy, it can lead to those emotions that make people want to give. That's what they are trying to tap into. And so we also need to look at our own campaigns that we do. When you try to get people to give you money, it doesn't matter to people what happens in Africa, what happens in Enugu or Lokoja or Abuja or Lagos or Kaduna. It doesn't matter to people, but you must find a way to connect and say, okay, if I'm trying to tap into Nigerians, what are the things that Nigerians, you know, care about? If I'm trying to tap, you know, get into the corporate bodies to begin to give to me, what are the things that can make people to give? You need to understand that giving, fundraising is an emotional thing. And until you learn to appeal to the emotions of people, then you will not be able to get the kind of fundings that you have, no matter how justifiable or how good your project is or what you're trying to do is. It's very, very important. Now, people become dedicated to causes that change their own self-image and make their lives feel rich with meaning. Years ago, people always criticize the tech leaders like Bill Gates, like, you know, the guys that own Google, the guys that own Amazon, and now Elon Musk and the rest of them, and even our own billionaires. There's a lot of anger sent towards these guys that they are amassing all this money, it's vanity, what are they doing with it? And so they decided that they wanted to change what people feel about them. And they went into massive philanthropic activities. In fact, most of the aid that is coming into the world today is being given by a few families. Why? Because they are trying to change the perception, what people think about them. And so if your campaigns can appeal to those kind of emotions, then it will work. Just like we heard about the story of the Nobel Awards, the Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Prize for Literature, for Science, and so on. That years ago, when Alfred Nobel, you know, he made lots of money from the discovery and sale of dynamite. And then one day, his brother died, but the obituary in the newspaper read that the merchant of death is finally dead. When he stumbled upon that paper and how people celebrated his obituary, thinking that he was the one, that jolted him to think that, look, so people do not really care about me that much. People actually do not like me, in spite of the fact that, you know, my invention is helping to settle disputes, you know, but people saw him as someone who is causing massive deaths through the invention of dynamite that was being used as bombs then. And so he decided that, look, he is going to change the way people thought about him and the way people cared about him, that he was going to be more loved in death than he was in real life. And then he set up those prizes, the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel Prize for Literature, the Nobel Prize for Science. That is now the most coveted prize in the world, named after him. And it's still there. This is about years later. People are still canvassing, people are still craving to be given any of the Nobel Prizes in their areas of career, or if they've done any significant thing in the world that led to world peace, they give it a peace prize. People do these things because they want to change their life, or they want their lives to have this inner satisfaction or inner meaning. And so you, as an NGO person, you need to begin to think about how to appeal to the innate human meaning for emotional fulfillment on behalf of the world. Whatever you're doing, and you want people to give, it's not about you. It's not about your community. It's not about what is going to change. What business do people have, whether your community people have clean water or not? But you must be able to tie it to what appeals to them, so that they can release that money to say, I want to be part of this success story, because it is about me. That's really why people give you. If it is not so, why would donor begin to say, okay, each time we give you money, if you're doing an event, you must put our name on the logo, you must do all this branding and include us in the communication materials and so on. It is because of how it feels when people commend them, when people praise them about the work that they've done and the lives that they've touched. So people want to make a difference with their lives and with their money. They want to work together and to share their passions with like-minded individuals. And that is why philanthropy grows from deep-seated human needs. If you're not able to key into the need of a person, which is money, there's no way you'll be able to get that money. So as you begin to fundraise, you need to have this at the back of your mind. As you're making that Facebook post, as you're writing that letter, asking people to donate to you, why should they donate? It's not about you. It's not about your community. It's not about the things that the work that you're trying to do, how important it is. No, but it's about tying it to how they feel. Americans like, yeah, thank you so much, James, for that. He said, each time CDC, USAID give you, they will tell you that with the support of the American people, because they go to the streets and ensure that people are sending 1 cent, $1, encouraging people to do taxes, because why? They are contributing. They are the big brother of the world. They are helping to make world peace. But if you're not able to appeal to those kind of deep connections, you'll be writing all the proposals and making sure all your logical frameworks are correct, and you're never going to get it. Now, there are obstacles that block the flow of resources. And some of these obstacles have to do with ourselves. We have to look at the philosophy of fundraising in terms of what are those things that block money from coming to us. The first obstacle is scarcity. There is this notion that we have that money is scarce, that donors are scarce, that donors do not want to give. That's not correct. Money is not a scarce commodity. Donors are no more saying that they are not giving. One of the things why you see that money is not coming is that donors do not feel that they're having the kind of impact that they want to see. Now, the problem we'll be having as civil society is that we have not been able to sit down with donors to really find out these things I'm telling you, to say, what is the impact you want to see? When you're able to unlock that impact, you're going to see that it is about, there is something about the person who is giving you money who feels that the money is supposed to block a sense of guilt in them, or a sense of satisfaction in them, that they do not feel that you are able to communicate to them that their money has been able to achieve. So that's where we need to sit down as civil society to begin to think about, how do we get to have a round table with our donors to find out exactly what gives them meaning, what gives them joy, what do they really want to see as they are giving, so that we are able to channel that resources. And when we are communicating impact to them, we bring those things to life. so that the donors can see and know that, yes, my money was able to help achieve this. And I feel at peace because somebody somewhere is sleeping comfortably with drinking water or has roof over their head. So it's really about the communication of impact to the donors, trying to understand what the donors want and how we are able to tell them that we've been able to achieve it. It's true that there is global uncertainty. Some countries are already in recession. You can see the situation in Nigeria with regards to the naira and the exchange rates that's going on, the huge debts that the country has, and so on. But another truth is also that today we have access to an incredibly vast pool of financial resources, real and potential. They are there. I'm telling you, they are there. There are people who do not have these problems that some of us are having as organizations when it comes to money. There are people who are always having donors who come to them and give them. So one of the things that you must have is about reprogramming yourself as a fundraiser, as a civil society person, to always tell yourself that, look, as long as there is problems that I'm trying to solve, there is plenty of wealth in our society. Much of it is eagerly seeking a positive outlet, meaning that there's people who with money, but they are just waiting to see somebody who will appeal to them, appeal to what they want to see, and they give that money to. It's like, for these guys, it's really about what they call like impact investing. So you have your money, and then somebody, imagine that you're there, you have your money, and somebody comes and say, you have your money, can you give us, let's go and do this business. No matter how that money is idle, if you do not like the business, you're not going to bring the money. People might call you wicked, they might call you stingy, they might call you all sorts. But before your money pats your pocket as an individual, there has to be a connection. If you're dashing somebody, if you're giving somebody, even if it's your relative or your child, there has to be something. There has to be, the story they are telling you has to resonate something inside you before that money comes out. Because nobody would be happy that you gave somebody your money and then they now come back with a story to say, look, okay, this money, I lost it as I was just leaving your house. I lost the money. Or they put it into a business, and at the end of the day, you cannot even tell what they did with that money. You didn't make any profit. You couldn't even recover your capital. That's a thing donors are seeing with civil society. And until we are able to communicate that with them, it's now still going to be that struggle that we think there is. So remember, there is no scarcity of resources. Now, another obstacle that's holding people back from effective fundraising is that we think that we face big challenges. And because we face big challenges, we don't want to act again. So because you've tried a few times to write proposals and nobody gets you funding, and you conclude that, look, no, these people, they are not funding again, so there's really no point wasting your time. And so these are the kind of emotions that you need to break from yourself, from your staff, from people around you. It's very, very important that you're able to remove that. And then another obstacle that prevents people from fundraising is a fear of the unknown. Many of us find it very difficult to connect with other people. We are struggling to make connections with people. You are in a meeting, you're in a seminar, you're in a conference, but you come back from that conference without having a single business card. So you come back from that conference and you don't have a single business card. You're not able to make any friends. You're not able to tell anybody about your business. Nobody knows about you. Or even when you come back with the business cards, you don't follow up. You don't write them emails. You don't call them. You don't check on them to find out, just to ensure that they remember you and associate you with the conference or event that you people met. So another thing is that when you're meeting people, many of us think that the best way to when you're having meetings with donor is that you want to prep, you want to do preparations. So you want to discuss talking points, that this is the way we should stick to these talking points. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you just have to flow with the way the discussions are going. It's not about just preparing lines and being like a robot and say, I'm going to talk about these 5 things and wait for them to ask questions. Sometimes the person you're meeting with can deviate from the talking points that you are prepared. Then what next? What then happens to you? So it's very, very important that you think about these obstacles. Then I think the final obstacle is the fear of rejection. Many of us are afraid that people will tell us no. You're afraid that we wrote proposal the first time and they sent us apologies, sorry, we did not meet. We wrote the second time. These donors, they don't give again. We've written 3 proposals and we don't get it. We're always receiving rejection. And so you are reluctant to write proposals again because you've written it a few times and you didn't get it. Perhaps you didn't even write back to the donor to find out from them what exactly about your proposal that they didn't like. They should tell you so that you can improve on it. You didn't go to make that inquiry from the donors. So it was really, really difficult for you. So you need to understand that while it ought to be turned down, you need to remember that people really do want to make a difference on earth with their money. And when you realize that people want to make a difference, it really doesn't matter how many times people turn you down, you will keep showing up and asking for that help. And when people reject you, they are not rejecting the entire civil society. Because you would observe that the money that they didn't give you, they gave it to another organization that might even be in your street. So it's not a matter of they are not giving money again, but they did give another organization. So it's really a matter of why did they give these people? What did they do? What did they say that we didn't say that we can learn from so that next time when we apply, we can get a positive response from donors. So you don't just say, no, I'm not interested again. They are not giving funding. Look at, they gave this other organization, but they didn't give us. You have not bothered to ask, why did they give the other people? And then they are not giving you. So it's very important that to know that, look, yes, scarcity, despair, fear of the unknown, or fear of rejection, they make fundraising very difficult, but it is very possible for you to have an effective fundraising. Now, I want you to reflect. So if you want to answer any of the questions, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand, and I will ask you to unmute, and then we share very briefly. Let's not take too much time so that we can cover much and go. How do you as an individual feel about fundraising? And what makes fundraising so hard? The third question is, which one of the obstacles has the greatest impact on your work and why? Anybody care to share? To answer any of the questions? You don't need to answer everything. Which one do you want to talk about very briefly? If you have 3 people to talk about the 3 answers, perfect. But if you just have 1 or 2 persons, also fine. How do you feel about fundraising? What makes fundraising so hard? Which one of the obstacles we've talked about here has the greatest impact on your work, and why do you think so? Anybody? Yeah, Amenze, you can unmute. After you.
Hi.
Yeah, Amenze, go ahead.
Okay. So, how do I feel about fundraising? First things first, I'm not a fundraising expert, so that's not my primary role. But I have an NGO,
Okay.
and that's relatively young, and of course, we're looking to raise funds. So, I don't like fundraising because I don't like talking to people. I guess that kind of answers the third question. Well, not like I don't like talking to people. Like maybe like how you say fear of rejection, or like you're trying to be over prepared to have all the information to say the right thing. And I probably approach it from a more medical angle than from emotional, like you say. So
Okay.
What I think for is build relationships, which I talk to people, find out, really just from what their needs are, what's motivates them. And I'll say it's something I'm trying to work on, but that's why, yeah. And then just position yourself to get the funding. It's a lot of work I'm learning.
Okay.
A lot of background.
All right. I think I've lost your voice. You can't hear you again. But I know you're still talking. But we thank you for all you've shared. Thank you so much for all you've shared. Sorry, everyone. Apparently, my network has not been so good. So let me just unmute you back, Amenze, so that you can continue your discussion. Go ahead, Amenze. Hello? Are you there? Okay. Juliet, you can go ahead. Man, everyone, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening with my network. But if you can hear me, Juliet, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So from the what you say we should reflect on.
Yeah.
Now, about the number one question, how do you feel about fundraising? Now, basically, as an NGO worker, we for me personally, whenever I'm asked to go and raise funds based on the fact that part of the job I do, I'm supposed to be kind of raising funds to support the program. But what I find the time is the person I'm supposed to go probably meet to get these funds to support the activity. They don't even have money. We work in rural communities, and then you need support for the beneficiaries, and then they don't have money. So how do we even go to start asking them for money? And so even when away, also idea comes into your head that okay, I have somebody I should be able to meet, but how to present? Because I think from this class now, my level of understanding about what fundraising is broadened, because you need to be able to appeal the mind. It's not just because you want to raise funds, you need to be able to convince them that this is what the money should be used for. So that's a key one that I have learned from this. So even if I'm going to communicate to my CSOs about fundraising, it's not just to enter and want to raise funds, because most times the money is there. You need to be able to convince them to appeal their emotions. Let whatever we are bringing to show that this is what we want to do, be able to convince them, to touch them, to say, okay, let me release funds, or even if I'm not releasing the funds, let me provide what they need for it. So what the fear of rejection is always there.
Okay.
Say, as a community person, I cannot rule out that fact that I have walked in a whole lot of persons, and most times I get a welcome, and most times I do not get a welcome. So that
Yeah.
fear of being rejected comes to play. So even to say that this physical year, part of my appraisal, they are telling me, my supervisor is telling me, you must put fundraising. I have told you that this last year, we need to be able to raise A, B, and C. And I keep lying down every day thinking, how am I going to raise all of these things? Let the project even do and finish. Let me rest, because it's more like they are pushing me. They are pushing me to go and raise funds. So, but I think I appreciate this class, because it's an eye opener for me to also see how I can better contribute my own quota to the organization I work with. Thank you, and over.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so we'll just continue, and then there'll be opportunities for us to reflect. So the next thing I want to talk about is fundraising culture, and why every one of us here in our various positions can create a culture of fundraising in our organizations, in our departments, that we find ourselves. So one of the things we've observed is that NGOs spend very little time on fundraising, but they talk about money all the time. They talk about, lack of time. We don't have time. We don't have time. And then one of the most important things that is, the main thing that your survival as an NGO is hanging on, you don't do it. So for some of us, fundraising is perceived as something negative, by NGOs, and then the boards and the entire organization often think that fundraising eats up program funding. So you're not willing to commit money into fundraising. You're not willing to commit time into fundraising. And then you'll be thinking that you want to get money. Some of us we spend most of our time only on programmatic work and don't want to invest more time into fundraising. We're happy to do project design. We're happy to implement. We're happy to do planning, to hold meetings, but we don't want to do fundraising meetings. We don't want to write proposals. We don't want to launch any campaign, and so on. And there are times also where some of us in the NGOs don't want to spend more time to make more personal acts as you keep running the same fundraising events. You rather want to do the same thing than to ask people personally for help. So you've not been able to identify even philanthropists within your state, within your country, that you feel that can connect with the project that you're doing. But you rather just do the same Facebook post or write newsletter and talk about, kidnapping in one community or an abandoned child somewhere that people do not even care about, because you've not been able to tap into those emotions that will make them care. And then some of us also don't want to hire a development professional. That means like a business development professional or a fundraiser, because you think you cannot afford it. You think that your organization is so small that it cannot afford to pay somebody in-house to be writing for you. That's most of the problems that small and medium NGOs have. They're not investing into fundraising. They rather invest into something else. They rather invest into getting an office building than to get the people that can bring the money for them. So you rather pay a consultant to do the work for you than employing or even getting somebody to volunteer to do it. So, but you need to remember that without fundraising, there are no programs. You can only have a program when there is money to do that work. So if there's no money, then you can't do any work. And then you also need to remember that it takes money to make money. You must be willing to spend the little you have to be able to make more. And even if you're small, even if you just started 6 months ago or 3 months ago, or you've been there way back, you must find a way to secure at least one professional that is dedicated to fundraising in your organization if you want to still exist in the next 5 years. So it is also very unrealistic and effective to expect that any other staff member, maybe like your executive director, okay, or program director or someone, to be able to do fundraising activities for you because they already have other things they are doing. Yes, they may have responsibility for fundraising, but you need a dedicated staff for that. And one of the things that we are not taking advantage of is that we are not even taking advantage of the NYSC schemes to be able to get young people with good writing and social media skills to act as our fundraising persons. While you support these people through sending them out for maybe webinars or something to improve their skills for them to understand development language. This is something that is a wake-up call for anybody on this webinar who has an NGO, who is an ED, or who is part of the senior management. You will continue to struggle until you pay attention to this aspect of your organization. You need to get somebody in-house who is responsible for writing. And you must not have a full staff. You can get a volunteer or you can tap into the NYSC scheme. I tell you something, whatever stipends you're able to pay those coppers will be far better for them than some of, because most of them will be posted to schools and they may just be wasting their lives there. They would rather cherish the opportunities that your small NGO would present, because many of us, let's say the majority of people working in the NGO sector in Nigeria and in Africa stumbled into it because many people didn't go to school to study sociology or social works. Many people didn't study public health in their first degree or humanitarian science. It is after you have done other things that you now stumbled into the NGO world. And so if everything you know today you learned, it also means that anybody can learn everything you know and still support you. So these are things that you need to note down and begin to think about taking action on. So what can you do to elevate the importance of fundraising in your organization? One, you need to invest more time into fundraising and development operations. So you need to begin to think about making fundraising a priority in your organization. It's a priority. Don't just say, we didn't get funding this year, so we are not getting funding, so you go and chill. No. You have to prioritize fundraising. And you need to invest more time into fundraising, including hiring the right people. All the person needs to be able to be a good fundraiser is, first and foremost, the person needs to be a good writer. So I have another presentation somewhere on the qualities you need to look for when hiring somebody to come and be a fundraiser for you. It has nothing to do with the technical skills. They don't need to know environment. They don't need to know humanitarian. They don't need to know HIV/AIDS. They don't need to know health. They just need to know how to write, because you're going to be working with the entire team to who the other experts who understand these things to supply them with the details and information that they need. And they need to be people who can make friends, people who are able to connect. Don't go and hire a shy person to come and be leading fundraising for you. They say, stand in front. No, I cannot stand. I'm shy. I'm shy. Me, I don't like talking. Those are not the kind of people you need. You need somebody who is able to make friends, somebody who is able to meet people, who is able to connect. So you need those kinds of persons when you're beginning to think about hiring a fundraiser for your organization. Please, I want to appeal to you because of the network. I'd like us to put our videos off. The network is bad, especially from my side, so that it doesn't keep logging me off. So after the presentation, we can always put our videos on. But for now, just keep your videos off, please. Now, another thing you need to do is, if you hire somebody with a responsibility for fundraising, or even your board, you need to assess how much they are bringing. You need to know if they are bringing you money, then you need to pay them reasonably. How much has this person brought in the last 1 year? How much has the board that we have been able to bring for us? One of the primary responsibilities of a functional board of an NGO is to support you in fundraising. How much have they brought in as a board with all their influence? How have they been able to talk to donors on our behalf? How have they been able to help us to reach organizations or people that have not been able to reach, and they give us money? And another thing you can do to elevate the importance of fundraising is to try new fundraising ideas. So you need to make more acts. You need to write more emails, write more proposals, write more letters, do more campaigns, have more meetings with people. You need to be bolder, and you need to be ready to spend more of your energy on fundraising, on development, so that you will eventually have more money to carry out your mission. Without money, your NGO will just be a briefcase NGO. You just be there, have this, the ED CEO of this organization, but yet you don't have 100,000 naira in the organization account. So you have big portfolio and the organization is just empty. So we must wake up. The reason why I'm starting all over from the very basics to start this series is so that we understand how important this is before we begin to go into the more technical aspects of fundraising. So what can you do to elevate the importance of fundraising? You need to think about how updated your fundraising technology is. I mean, many of us do not pay attention to this. We don't even have a donor database. If I tell you now, do you have a mapping of all the donors who are giving people money within the programs that you do? You might not even know up to 3. Because you've not created a database of donors, the organizations, where they are from, what their contact number is, who is the contact person in each of the organizations. You do not have it. And then some of us are not even investing in tools. Our staff for fundraising do not have a good phone. They do not have a good laptop. How will they now be able to tap and take advantage of the resources online? If there is one person in your organization that needs a good Android phone and a good laptop, it's not the ED. It is the person in charge of fundraising, so that they can be searching for funding opportunities for you online. And then that means that they should have access to small monthly stipends for their internet. These are the kind of investments that you need to make. But you have somebody there, the person does not have a phone, the person does not have a laptop. How will they generate money for you? How will they bring in the money? What would they use to write? And mind you, when you're just starting, you can buy these things. I mean, there are lots of used laptops, lots of very good high-end used laptops that you can buy. So the excuse of we don't have a laptop should not even be in your database. Even if you didn't have an office, you should have had a laptop. It's even better you were using your parlor to do the office than to go and rent a big space and you've been able to put chairs and then you don't have computers inside that office. Then how do you want to compete? How do you want to be taken seriously? So it takes you days to respond to an email. Somebody will send you an email and still have to call you to tell you that I've sent you an email. Have you checked on it? Please open the email. And you now say, I have to go to one cafe in today's age. And then you have to think about a budget for fundraising training. You see, one of the things that we joke about is the value of training our team. People will leave your organization, no doubt. Because some of us, EDs and CEOs, always feel that if I train them, they will leave. If you don't train them, they'll be outdated and your organization will sink. So it's even better you be like the conduit pipe that trains people, because when you have staff and they leave you and you are in good relationship with those staff become ambassadors of your organization, that wherever they go, when they see opportunities that they think that your organization can handle, they will be the ones sending those opportunities your way. So some of us do not even keep even up to 50,000 naira a year for training of ourselves, of our staff, and yet you want to compete. It's not possible. It's not possible. There's no way, no matter how juicy the free courses are, there are some things you will not get for free. Even the websites where you go to get the real fundraising information, you have to pay monthly subscription. But if you're unwilling to make that investment, then you should not be saying that you have an NGO, you are the head of an NGO. You should probably get to work in another sector, because we are not willing to do the things. And I have to tell you the truth, because I just have to tell you, because I see opportunities, but there are many people, our organizations are unable to take advantage of them because we are not just ready. So there has to be that culture of training. NGOs did not just wake up to be NGOs. They started, somebody founded an NGO, but they put together these principles. I know a few Nigerian organizations that are operating in several African countries and even in the US. They started small. Somebody founded that organization. The person is still alive. But they prioritize these things, I'm telling you. And today they are now international organizations. Things are started in Abuja, some started in Lagos. So it's not even like they've gotten massive funding. But because they put together the principles and kept them and keep doing them, now today they are counted as big organizations. So training and innovation are integral to the long-term success of your organization and of your fundraising efforts. You must prioritize it. You must be, if you have somebody who's doing business development for you, you must prioritize sending those individuals at least for a training once in a year. Getting them to attend these trainings is critical. You don't have to be the one going. Focus on the person who is generating the money and let them be the one to go. May I please appeal that we put off our videos, please? So now, if you want to master fundraising, you need a culture of fundraising within your organization in which your fundraising and program responsibilities are shared among staff and integrated with each other in their planning and implementation. People need to know every year that, look, this is how much we have and this is how much we need to raise. If I ask you, do you know how much you need every year to remain sustainable as an organization? Do you? It's important that you know how many million naira do you need, or how many $1,000 do you need as an organization that you need to bring in for you to continue to exist as an organization. Because if you don't know that, that means your staff do not know, and your staff also do not know the value of fundraising. Now, I know that not every one of us here is a staff or is the head of an organization. But if you know these things I'm telling you, I can bet you would remain, in demand within the sector. You'll not be bothered about whatever change is happening, because you know that any organization would always be looking for your skill. So how do you create a culture of fundraising? We'll just run through this. You need to send staff and board to fundraising trainings, not once, but you have to do it periodically as the need for greater skills arises. Prioritize skills development if you want to be that organization that would achieve your vision or your mission. And don't separate fundraising from program activities. Everyone in the organization who is doing programs should know about fundraising. They should be able to ask. It's not just about having one person. Everybody, you need to have a person dedicated to that, but every one of us should be involved in fundraising so that when we see the opportunities, we can refer them to the person who will be able to better talk, or we can come back to the office and then that person will guide us on how to have those meetings. And then you need to make sure you have representation of staff, board, volunteers, and members for each important fundraising activity. Whenever there is fundraising activity going on, all staff and board members should be there. And you need to develop specific ways for people to get involved. Okay? You need to tell board members or volunteers that they must engage in fundraising, but leaving it up to them to figure it out doesn't work. Everybody needs to know that fundraising is not an activity or is not something that just one particular person needs to do. Even though we would have a staff dedicated to fundraising activities, fundraising is everybody's business. And then you need to develop specific ways for people to get involved. So don't just tell people to figure out how much they need to bring. You must tell them, this is what I expect from you. The board, we expect that you should be able to bring us XYZ amount of money every year from the board. We expect that you should give us leverage on your contacts to introduce us, to introduce the organization. That is why they are board members. And you can create an annual pledge form on which board members indicate what they are willing to do that year in the area of fundraising and even giving to the organization. They commit to say, okay, this year I'm going to be introducing 3 organizations to our NGO, or this year as a board member or the board chairman or board chairperson, I'm going to be donating from my personal resources 100,000 naira or 200,000 naira or 1 million or 2 million or 10 million or 100 million, as the case may be, to the organization. And as the head of the organization, you must show leadership. You have to be the one driving fundraising in your organization by speaking about it in meetings, by always emphasizing the need for everyone to fundraise, and by you having those meetings that you need to have. And every key staff, like the SMT or the board, should have fundraising included in their job description, so that nobody says that it's not part of my job description, so I'm not going to do it. It has to be there. So you might have to go and edit people's job description, update it, and include fundraising if it's not already there, so that, as this is already a new year, people can join. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is creating a statement of support. Creating a statement of support. Let me just stop sharing and check something. I think I missed the slide. I've missed the slide. Just a moment, please. Yep. Yeah. Okay, I think I've seen it. Just a moment. Seen it. Yep. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so sorry, please. Okay, so we also want to talk about something called a case for support. Um, so this is an important document that you would be using to communicate to donors. You will need it when you're soliciting donations for your organization. You would keep it as a resource document for proposals and grant applications. And this document is usually around 2 to 7 pages long, and it helps you to address the following. Who is your organization? What have you accomplished? What is your vision for the future? Why should the donor care about the work of your organization? And how can the prospective donor contribute to the cause or project that you're trying to have? Now, many of us are not prepared when we go to talk to donors. So we just go to donors and say that we want them to fund us. But then, as we discuss with these donors, we don't have a document that as you're having meetings with them, you can show them. You can actually share with them for them to know that, okay, this is what we want to do, or this is who you are and how we can support you. It's never there. There's no, so you attend conferences and you know that donors are going to be in that conference, and you just go and sit down with them and just talk to them. I'm from um, Community Foundation. What do you do? You talk about, but if they ask another colleague of yours what your organization does, they are giving different response. And so a case for support is more like what business people call like a business profile. That when you're meeting a client, you give them your profile that talks about what you've done. And it's not something that should be long. It's something that should be between 2 to 7 pages long max. And that will help you as you're beginning to go into fundraising, so that everyone in your organization will be on the same page as per who you are, what you have accomplished, what is your vision for the future, why should organizations work with you, and how can organizations contribute if they wanted to contribute. And so this important document is something that I feel that we need to have as we begin to talk about fundraising, even as we delve into the more technical aspect of fundraising, which we'll do next week and the week after. So when do you need it? You need this statement all the time. It answers critical questions for those supporting your organization and helps everybody to be on the same page, like I said. It will help you when you're working to fund a new initiative or campaign. You need people to know. Everybody in your organization should speak the same language about what you are, what you're trying to do. I mean, if you see everybody who is working with this present administration, they cannot make 2 sentences without talking about the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. Renewed hope, renewed hope. So if I am working in the organization, do I know what the vision for the future of the organization is? So these are things that you need to have. So it's a very important document that you need to have. And I've prepared a template that you need to go and complete after this course. And on the Telegram channel, I will try and develop a Word document template of this and share it so that everyone, you can now go and populate it by answering the questions there. So we're saying that, how do you create a case for support or a case statement? So you either call it a case for support or a case statement. It's a statement that you're making. So we're saying that an NGO case statement is a clear and compelling case for support, which justifies the existence of an organization or program and why individuals or funders should support you. Now, in this table, this is a template I was talking about, is a tool that you can use to populate your case statement and have it. And then on the first column talks about the components of a case statement. And then the second column talks about what you should write in that section. So there are a series of questions that you need to answer. Those questions will help you to know what to write under this mission. For instance, we have mission and purpose. And what are you going to write? You say, per each question, you write 3 to 4 sentences. So here we said, what is the long-term impact of your work on the overall society or community at large? You're talking about your vision. What's going to be the long-term vision that you have? The second question you would answer is, what societal change does your organization aim to bring about? You're working in the communities. What change are you hoping to bring? That would help you to know what your mission is. And then the third question to answer is, what are the values that drive the existence of your organization? So what drives you? What are your values? And then the next category is, or component, is background history and accomplishments. So you have to tell us, when was your organization founded and by whom? Who was your founding director? B is, what are the key milestones in your organization history? So from the period where you were founded till now, what has happened? What are the milestones that you want to celebrate? We've done 10 years anniversary, we've done 5 years anniversary. In this 5 years anniversary, we're able to impact 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 300 people, as the case may be. And see, what has your organization accomplished that builds your credibility and reputation? So what do people say about you? What do you think you've done that communities trust you and other partners trust you as a result of it? You have to talk about it here. And then the other component that you have to talk about is the need that you're trying to solve and the target population. Under here, you'll be answering, what is the target population of customers or direct beneficiaries that you are serving? State their profile. So are you targeting children between the ages of 0 to 5, or you're targeting people, boys and girls, or girls only, between what age and what age, or people who are young girls who have been victims of sexual and gender-based violence? You have to state that. And then, what is a compelling evidence which clearly demonstrates that your services are urgently needed? So you bring those data. You know, in the communities where you work, 1 in 5 girls are out of school, 2 in 3, all those data that you have, you now bring them here. Remember, they should not be long, 3 to 4 sentences per each of the answers. What challenges or gaps exist in today's environment which show no other government, business, or non-government entity are meeting these specific needs? Then you also have programs. What programs and services do you offer in the community that uniquely addresses the immediate as well as the long-term needs? Describe the elements of your programs that are recognized as solutions to the specific problems in societal need in the community. And C is, how do you address your beneficiary needs differently or more efficiently than other nonprofits who are serving similar customer groups? So this is about your target, your strategy. What makes you different? Do you use a community-based approach? Have you been able to develop, or do you use a software or a technology, or what exactly it is that you do that you feel that you are better or better positioned than other organizations, so that that money does not go to the other people? And then you have, you have this one relating to the societal challenges stated above. What are the longer-term outcomes your organization hope to bring about through your programs and services? So if you solve all these problems, what change do you want to bring about? Okay. And what are the specific things that your organization should accomplish to bring about optimal outcomes? So what actions would you take? And what are the immediate results? So this is really about writing the objectives and the outputs. And then the third one is, what future milestones will you put in place to ensure success? How do you know you would have achieved success? What will you do to ensure that you have achieved success? And then the final one is the ultimate societal impact. How do you see your organization's contribution or impact to the community change over time? And redefine the scope of your organization's work within the context of the future community. Expand on what possible and new benefits your organization can bring to the community in the years to come. So this is a very important tool that you need to have. Each organization needs to have this document that has been produced, so that whenever you attend meetings, you're meeting with donors, you come prepared. As you are attending conferences, seminars, workshops, or you go for courtesy visit with these donors, what do you tell them? Everybody that is meeting with donors, so you print a few copies, or you make them in PDFs, very beautiful PDFs that you can share. And it's okay, I want to introduce my organization to you. This is who we are. And as you're talking, the person is reading, so that when, because sometimes, or most of the time, people forget actually what you discuss with them. But when they take back this document and they think about you, anytime they see, they think about you and they go back to read, you might see them come back to write to you to follow up on certain things that you've discussed. Or whenever an issue of funding comes up, they think about you because you've been able to articulate exactly what you want to achieve in that particular period, that particular time. Now, I'm going to open the floor for questions or feedback that you have. And then after the feedback, like I promised us, I'm going to put us into breakout rooms for 15 minutes. Now, everybody will belong to a room. What is going to happen in that room is that you have 15 minutes to introduce yourselves to people that you find in that room. So you have to give yourself turn. Everybody should be able to have talked in that 15 minutes so that you are able to sell yourself to them. Don't underrate the person in the room, because it's not about the individual, but it is really about who the person may know. I might not be anybody, but you don't know who I have as my contact. So share it as if you're talking to the president or a big donor. You know, sell yourself so that you get to know. One of the things I've realized is that we attend these master classes, but we don't know ourselves. And then we also do have people from NGOs here who should be able to help us, but because we are not really connected. So I'm hoping that these 15 minutes that we'll have in the breakout rooms would be able to help us to share within the small groups that we'll find ourselves. And when we come again another time, we'll have another opportunity to introduce ourselves to different groups of people. You know, that way you're forming relationships, you're forming partnerships, or there might be opportunities for employment, for funding, for collaboration, and so on. So I'm going to be setting up the rooms now, but if you have any questions or comments that you want to share, please go ahead and let me know. So I am still waiting. Do we have any questions? Anybody want to talk? If not, then I'll just send us into the breakout room, and then when we come back, we can just continue. So please keep going. You should be getting notifications. Go to your rooms and talk. Have the conversations, please. Harrison, you need to join the room. Baba Gary, you need to join the room. Mary, you need to join your room, please. Mary, you're supposed to be in room 4. Baba Gary, you're supposed to be in room 2. Mary Ann, please join your room. It's very important. So just 3 of you have not joined. Baraya, Baba Gary, you're supposed to be in a room. Mary Owen, you're supposed to be in a room. Marianne or Choluje, you're also supposed to be in a room. Mary, you didn't join any room. So I'll assign you to room 4. Please go to room 4, Mary. Juliet, you're not in any room. I've assigned you to a room. Please. Mary, please, you're supposed to join a room. You're supposed to be in room 4. You're the only person who is not joined the room. So quick announcement is the slides will be available on the Telegram channel. I'm going to share the slides there. When we are going to edit the videos and send them to YouTube because I'm recording them locally on my computer. So I don't want them to be heavy, so you could always go and watch back. So I'm going to share the link to the Telegram channel here. And then if you want to, the link to the YouTube is also here. You could go and subscribe and see that you have notification whenever we upload the video. So we're trying to move all our past webinars into that into YouTube, so they are there and people can always have access to them from all around. So Juliet, your question was, is fundraising and resource mobilization the same? Yes, but there is a difference. So with fundraising, you're really looking about financial resources, but resource mobilization goes beyond finances. Resource mobilization is about mobilizing all the resources that you need, including money, people, equipment, infrastructure, whatever else that you need to be able to achieve your vision. But today and tomorrow and today, next week, and until we exhaust completely the fundraising aspect, we'll be really looking at helping people to be able to achieve funds. So I'm not going to be doing this alone. I'm still going to bring other people to come in. So one of the things I want to appeal is whenever you see the flyers, just help me upload it on your WhatsApp status. It's really about the connections. You never know who's going to see it and be interested in joining. The masterclass is free. We don't charge for it. So we just want people to have access to this information and use it to better their organizations. So if there is no other question, I just want to thank every one of you and wish every person I haven't greeted a happy new year. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next Saturday on the masterclass. So if you're on the Telegram group, you're going to get the slides very soon. I'm going to share them there, and then we'll be editing and uploading the video on YouTube later. So thank you, and do have a wonderful weekend and a productive work week next week. Take care.